Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam, and this is going to be a really fun, okay, we're going to preface this as if I know which order these are coming out at this current moment. I don't know which vlog is coming out when, but at this current moment, I am making my way reading through books chosen, oh my goodness, you are so cute, for Battle of the Booktubers. This is created by the wonderful Danny. I will leave everybody down below for you to follow along. This is going to be a weekly thing for the month of October. You're going to get 3 different vlogs from me. So the way that the Battle of the Booktuber works is Danny takes a selection of booktubers, puts them together, they share data information so that we can do our research, and then from there we decide what books we want to recommend each booktuber. It's all done in secret. I don't know who picked these picks for me. I just know that one of them did. I will be reading 2 books per vlog from each of the booktubers. So that I have booktubers I, J, and K. No, H, J. There's 3 booktubers. Each of them have 2 picks. There will be 2 books per vlog. That's all you need to know. In this video, I will be reading probably my most anticipated of the picks. Like, out of everything that I've been recommended, I am probably most excited for these 2 because, one, I'd never heard of one of them before, which is The Novice. I've never heard of this book. I've never seen this book. Funny enough, last time I went to a bookstore, there it was, front and center, and I was like, wait, I'm reading that. And then the second book I'm reading for this vlog specifically is an author who I actually read for the first time this year and have been decently familiar with. So I will be reading Rules for Vanishing, and I will actually be starting it this evening, tonight, because my audiobook is due tomorrow at like 9:30 in the morning, and so I have to finish. So that's cool. All I know for these 2 picks is that booktuber G recommended them to me, and no, not G from the book roast. This is just the letter that has been brought forth and put upon them. But it's hard. It's so difficult. So what's interesting about this specific group's pairing is I would say that Jess and I have the most in common when it comes to reading. We read a lot of the same genres and books, and we pick up a lot of the same things. So there's definitely like maybe more clear options that would make sense for Jess to pick for me. And I'm torn between booktuber G being Jess or being Krista. I feel like they both, it's so tricky because Jess and I both like fantasy, and you can't go wrong with fantasy girlies. Like, there will always be something we bond on, right? But Jolene and Krista prefer literary historical fiction, which is like a tricky situation because literary is such a broad topic. Like, I read it. Can't know everything about it. Fantasy, though, I have like a really weird wealth of knowledge when it comes to fantasy, especially. And so having a thriller and a fantasy, I'm like, okay, so this could either be Jess or Krista, but also Jolene might just be like, here's things that I wouldn't personally pick up and read, but I'm gonna recommend them. Like, I don't know what everyone's strategies are at this point in time. I don't know what people were thinking, and I'm starting this before I get to see like the cameo videos and stuff. So I don't know. I want to say my guess would be that this is Jess, but it could also be Krista. The way that they've stumped me. They've bamboozled me. They knew what they were doing when they gave me the picks. I feel like my picks, because I recommended them, they feel obvious, but like I think that they're pretty obvious. So everyone might know that it's like, oh, clearly this was safe. That's just how I feel. But with the way that they gave me my recommendations and picks, I think that each of my booktubers could be 2 of them. So there's no like clear-cut answer for me of knowing exactly who would recommend it and why. And I am not going on Goodreads to see if these people have read it. I don't want to know. Hopefully I don't accidentally stumble across. I do read Goodreads review. I'll try not to for these until well after everything is done. With that said, Rules for Vanishing is the first book that I'm picking up, and I've actually kind of started it. I've restarted it multiple times, but right off the bat, I'm so interested and intrigued. One, I read Kate Alice Marshall before, and I gave it 4 stars. I did enjoy their writing. I don't know if Rules for Vanishing is YA or adult, but I think I read an adult thriller. 2, we're starting off with some mixed media. There's interviews right off the bat, and I love mixed media. I love interviews. I'm so excited. I don't know what the mystery thriller part of this is. I'm assuming some type of disappearance based off the title, but I don't actually know like anything about this. Like the last book I read, I knew like too much going into it, which kind of spoiled it for me. So now I'm excited to see what this author has in store for not knowing anything about it, but at the same time that worries me because this author feels like a hit or miss type of author. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. But I'm really excited to kick it off because the interviews and the audiobook narrations they're already doing it for me. I'm already really excited. So I'm gonna listen, and I will try to update you guys more periodically than I normally do. Since I'll just be listening to it this evening, I will just pop in when I have some thoughts for you, let you know what's going on. Once I know the plot, I will also tell you that. So I will check in with you guys very soon. But I'm excited. I'm pretty excited. I don't know. Okay, so I have made it 20% into Rules for Vanishing, and I figured now it's a good time to pop in and tell you what I know so far. So, 1, I'm enjoying the audiobook version of this because there's like text messages, there's interviews. It seems like we are following an interview with our main character, Sarah, but she's like telling the story and we're like following the events of the story while also like cutting back and forth to the interview, which is something that I've learned that I'm really liking in stories lately because I read My Darling Dreadful Thing and it did a similar thing where it's like, here's the interview, but here's also the story that they're telling in the interview. I like it. It works for me. So it has me excited. This is confirmed young adult horror paranormal thriller. It is set in high school. So in this, we are following Sarah. Our main character, Sarah. And Sarah's sister, Becca, went missing some time prior. And a lot of people believe that she's a runaway. She ran off with this boyfriend of hers that was trouble and like no good. And haven't heard from her since. Which caused like obviously Sarah's home life to go, awry because her sister's gone, her parents divorced, she lost her close friend group. They do call themselves the Wildcat, which like trademark, that belongs to High School Musical, but like it's fine. But basically she's lost her friend group. She's kind of the weird kid at school now because she's been grieving the loss of her sister. But alongside all of that, we get these text messages going out to the friend group saying like, do you want to play a game? Partner up, bring a key, and let's do this. And basically it relates to this urban legend of a Lucy Gallows. And Lucy Gallows is a young girl who disappeared as a child, was like whisked away, never found. And apparently once every year, this like road manifests, like reappears, and like you walk down the road with your partner, you try and hold hands, you make like 13 paces, like you do all the things. But basically this is like their chance to find Becca. Sarah thinks that like this is how she's gonna find her sister. She thinks that something happened because of a phone call. Sarah overheard Becca on the phone talking about like the Gallows Road. And so she's been going to the forest alone, trying to like sleuth this out herself, hasn't found anything, but she thinks this is the moment. She's had a little prophetic dream about having like everyone together for this. So yeah, we think that she's gonna find her sister, and I don't know where it's gonna go from here. I've just gotten to the part where like they're entering the road and like they partnered up and like they're walking down the road. So I'm definitely intrigued. I also would like to applaud this author for just naturally having a diverse character. Like one of the characters, I think Vanessa, has a stutter. Jeremy has hearing aids. Many characters of color. We know that this is going to be like focusing on a sapphic relationship, as I think all Alice Kate Marshall books might be. I'm not 1,000%, but the one that I read was also a queer character. So definitely queer. characters of color, disabilities, and it's just like naturally like a part of these high school characters, like definitely like have their tropes, their traits, their high school, whatever you want to call it. So I'm definitely intrigued to see where we go from here. I would say that like the audiobook experience of like listening to text messages is definitely more annoying. So like I'll normally just skim over the times. I don't need that, but it's a small qualm. But yeah, I'm excited. It seems like this is gonna get paranormal, and I'm excited for that. I love me some paranormal horror, thriller mysteries. Like it's just so good. It's so good. So yeah, I'm actually enjoying this so far. It's definitely not like, I don't think it'd be 5 stars unless something in this really wows me. But I think that's also just because it's YA horror, so it could be really hit or miss. Yeah, it's like fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm happy to be reading it. I don't know where it's gonna go from here. I don't know how twisty or suspenseful it might get, so I'm just gonna keep listening, and I will let you guys know how it goes from here. But like so far, I'm really enjoying it. It'll probably be like at this current moment 20%, and I'm predicting it'll be like 4 stars unless it goes bad, which I don't think it will. I don't know. The last book that I read from this author was also 4 stars, so that just feels and sounds right to me. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. I will keep listening and I'll check in with you guys when I have more to say, probably in the morning because it's like getting late and I will probably just listen to this until I fall asleep. So good morning. I'm gonna have this update be a little bit quick and then I'll go in depth a bit later. I was reading Rules for Vanishing, airplane mode off, and it worked for maybe an hour, and then Libby stole my audiobook. And I maybe had 30 minutes left. I'm so annoyed because I'm scared I'm gonna forget a lot of the things that were happening there at the very end, because I don't have notes on it. So yeah, that was a little bit heartbreaking, soul crushing, but it's fine. The hold is 2 weeks from now, so hopefully I'll get it before then, before these videos are due and needing to go up. So that's kind of where I'm at. I've been liking it, but I just unfortunately could not properly finish it, but it's got a lot of things that I like, and I'll give a more in-depth, hopefully, ending review in the next clip. So I have officially finally finished Rules for Vanishing. It didn't take as long to get the audiobook hold back like I was expecting, but I don't really have a lot to say about how the story concluded. It honestly, like, the ending felt a little long, and I honestly like could have tightened it up a bit. There was a point in the story where I was like, oh, we're done, it's ended, and then there was still like a solid hour after that, but I didn't hate it. I didn't hate my time. It was definitely a twist that I didn't expect or see coming, which was good. Overall, I like the story. I like the writing. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed like the teen drama of it all. It definitely fits like that young adult supernatural. The premise of it is just still super interesting, and I'll definitely keep it in mind for a while. I love the idea of paranormal urban legends, but like making them true. It's just a very unique take that I like. I did like it. I gave it 4 star in the end. So that's my final rating. I definitely recommend it. It's definitely an author that I'm going to keep reading. This is my second from this author, and I know they've got a decent backlist at least. So I'll definitely keep checking them out. But overall, I enjoyed this. I thought it was a good pick for me. I love me some YA horror thriller. It was great. You got, oh, so good. It was good. It was so good. Okay, it's time. I will be reading The Novice by Taryn Matheru. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. This will take me about 4 hours to read. I'm nervous. I'm probably, I don't want to say the most nervous out of all the picks that I was given, but this is the one and only book out of all the things given to me that I knew nothing and know nothing about. I have not read a synopsis. I have not looked further into it. It's genuinely, it's just, this is the book. I have the ebook through my library. I have the audiobook on Audible. It's an exclusive if you were looking for it. So we're gonna jump into this. I don't know what to expect. I know it's a series. Summoner, book 1. I don't know. I'm nervous. I don't know why I'm nervous. Probably because it is fantasy, and that's what I read the most. So I could be like I can be a little bit more critical about fantasy books rather than like other genres that I'm usually just reading for a good time. Like fantasy is like the one thing where I'm like, oh, let me dissect this and think about everything. To my mother, for always being there for me. To Alice, a rock against which this story was written. And to my Wattpad readers, without whom none of this would be possible. Let's go, Wattpad. I grew up on that. Maybe this will be great. That feels like hope. Man. I think it was Jess who recommended these. I do. And I think good picks. And if it's not Jess, good picks. So I have made a little bit of progress in the novice. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. Enough to update you guys. And can I just... Anywho, this feels very Harry Potter coded in the characters. And I don't know if it was intended. I don't know the origin of the story. I don't know if it was on Wattpad as like a AU alternate universe of Harry Potter, because in this we're following a boy, Fletcher, who's 15, and he was an orphan, a literal baby, no blankets, left in the snow to die in front of this very small town. He hunts to help provide. The blacksmith took him in, and they live a nice little life together. They're very cute together. I like them. But there's also this boy, Diedrich, I think, and he, like, Fletcher feels a little Harry Potter coded. Orphan, unwanted, seen as less than because of his status. And then there's this other 15-year-old boy, I think Dietrich, who is a noble's son and is pretty wealthy, but he's like a guard right now and he thinks he's like all that. And he feels very Harry Potter's cousin coded, whose name I don't remember off the top of my head. Everybody will tell me in the comments, I'm sure. But it feels very Harry Potter rivalry coded. So that's something. But basically, where I've gotten to is that Fletcher met this guard who came into town and was trying to sell some stuff from the war. And there's like humans, who we're following. There's the elf Providence, and then there's the orc Providence that they're all fighting against. And so this soldier like brings a bunch of things to sell, one of them being a summoner's book. And keep in mind that this series is called The Summoners. So I know that this book is very important, and Fletcher decides to take this book that he can luckily read because he's a smart boy who had to go to school, and summons a little demon in the cemetery. Casual, normal stuff. Summoners in this world help with the war, and they summon demons, I guess, to help fight. And this particular summoner's book is trying to study, like the previous summoner was trying to study how the orcs did it and try to learn like their pentagrams and stuff. It's very interesting. I don't love it so far, but it's an easy read. The narrator has a nice accent, which is fun. It's a lot of like lore dumping, a lot of like world building that I'm just like, okay, sure. But now that we're slowly starting to introduce magic and this potentially cute little demon creature that I think I like, I'm intrigued to see where it goes. It's one of those books where I'm like, what's the objective? What's the goal? Where are we going? Like, what is happening? We're following a 15-year-old boy. Is he going to war? Is he going to stay in this little village and live his happy little life? Like, what's up? I don't know. So, not loving it, but I'm not hating it either. And I will update you guys when I have more thoughts on this. Final thoughts, everybody. Oh boy, do I have a lot. Oh, I need my notes. I have notes. I finished the last of this when I was at work today, and so I wasn't able to check in as often as I had maybe hoped. But The Novice. Oh, what an interesting little time capsule of a book. This feels so very fitting. So this came out, I believe, 2015, and it feels like a book that came from 2015. And I don't mean that as an insult. And I have a lot of critiques for this book, and it's not like specific to this book. It's because I've seen this so many times that it like was a little bit obvious, if you will. But I don't have an issue with this book. I think that this book is good for what it is. I think it definitely feels like a 2015 debut, somebody who got a start on Wattpad. It feels like that type of story, just very typical fantasy, very coming of age, nothing like out of nowhere, nothing you've not seen before. Like, it is fitting like a stereotypical style, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But almost 10 years from when this came out, it definitely feels like that type of story, where now I'm reading vastly different types of fantasy. So going back to like the roots of fantasy like this is interesting. I had a really hard time connecting with this character, Fletcher. He and I just like he didn't have enough emotion to him. He is your typical chosen one, orphan boy who doesn't have to work hard to have these powers and abilities. Okay, you've seen this. I don't need to hold it up the whole time for you. He has these powers that he doesn't have to work on, and like just has the natural skill. It's very cliche to, honestly, it kind of like it's like the boy version of a Mary Sue. Like, he's just good at everything. He doesn't have flaws. His biggest flaw is he's just too nice and naive, and oh, so dumb sometimes. He gets in some sticky situations. You're like, bud, you could have avoided this. Like, you could. The biggest distraction I had while reading this is just how Harry Potter coded it was. Now, here's the thing. I am all for stealing bits and pieces of Harry Potter and using it in new work. I think that you can be inspired by it. I think that you can just blatantly just take parts. I'll say the author is trash, and I think that it's okay to love the work for the experiences you have and the connections that you have to Harry Potter, and I think that's great and beautiful. And I think that it's okay to have complex feelings about it. And I also think that it's okay if you really like the tournament, the Triwizard tournament, put that in your own book. I am all for it. I don't care. But it was distracting how similar the two stories were. And I need to like put in the disclaimer of, I soft DNF the first Harry Potter book. I tried listening to the audiobook and I was like, I don't think I care. I don't think I want this. Yeah, that's coming from a girl who really likes the movies and has a lot of like weird knowledge because her boyfriend's family's obsessed with Harry Potter, that it was hard to not see all of the similarities. You've got a tournament, you've got the Harry Potter orphan boy who's just naturally gifted, who has like these very, what's the cousin's name, who I just can't remember for the life of me, Digby or whatever, and Draco Malfoy like characters, the villains, the enemies that are just annoying and classist and so frustrating. You've got these kids that are growing up and are put into a magical school, the difference being that this is a magic school for demon summoners, which I think is very cool. You get like your own little Pokemon demon to carry around with you that you kind of bond with. And I think Ignatius is incredible. What a cute little guy, and I love that name for completely separate reasons, but it's a good name. Also, this has like the elitist views where like the human race is better than the dwarves and the elves, who are trying to have equality in the world, and they're fighting the orcs, who like everyone's against. And you've got the nobles and then the commoners, and the nobles are clearly better than, and just very elitist views in a very like simple way. It's not saying anything, it's not like adding to the conversation, it's just like, that is the world. There's a war happening that I could care less about. At the magic school, there's a whole bunch of kids, and I could not keep them straight in my mind very often, and the only time I could would be like, this is Ron and this is Hermione, and that's on me. That's my problem. Now, there's things about this book that I personally didn't love, and I find common in these types of fantasy books. Telling versus showing, giving you narrative info dumps about the whole world, where you meet a character and they're like, let me tell you all about everything I know about the school, and you're like, but it's your first day too. Like, you also don't know these things. And so it just had like a little bit too much of like characters having to tell you so much about the world. And it's like, I understand that we are learning with Fletcher. He's a 15-year-old boy going through the most. And so he's learning all about the magic world because he just got it, and he's learning about all these like new things and is out of his small town. So very fish out of water, and it's nice that we're learning with him, but I wish there was more than just like characters info dumping on me in the dialogue. Now, my final critique for this, and I don't know if it's a critique or if it's just the way that this book did it or what, but it was just so distractingly there. Every chapter ends in like an anticlimactic cliffhanger where it's like, what's gonna happen next? And yes, it does want to keep you reading, like you want to know what's gonna happen, but there were definitely moments where I was like, it's feeling a little overdone, and because it's happening almost every chapter. It's like there's other ways you can end a chapter than like this little cliffhanger shock. So when it came to the end of the book, it cliffhanger shocked, and then it just ended. And I wasn't prepared for that because it felt like everything else in the book, that it didn't feel like a solid, complete ending. My biggest thing, this is my biggest thing, pacing. And pacing is hard in books. I think what would have done this book so much justice is if everything happened 50 pages earlier and we had more of the tournament at the end. The tournament just kind of got squished in so quickly, and I really wish that we saw more of it, and it was just longer. I love trials in books. That's something that just, I love it. And so I wish that we saw more of it. I really wanted that. And it took so many pages to get to the school and to get like their footing, and I really just wish that we were at the school a little bit sooner and kind of squished everything else that happened a little bit faster to really like make it feel like there was urgency, that he had to go. He had to get out of the town because of this horrible incident that happened. He had to go. And then he gets thrown into a school, and he's just like going through the motions just a little bit quicker so that we could have seen more stuff and just had a little bit more world building. That's my biggest critique and complaint. Now, I think this is a really cool premise. I really like the idea of training summoners to summon these demons that can help you, unfortunately, in a war, which doesn't feel great, but like, I get it. I do like that premise of like having the school that can teach you these things, and I like the world and premise itself. I just, small little critiques like that. With all of those critiques said though, I didn't hate this. I really didn't have like a bad time. I really needed to just frame it as like, this was written in 2021. This author started on Wattpad. Me too. Not a no shame. I'm just saying that you can feel that the writing has not yet matured. It's probably significantly better now. It's been 10 years. Like, it just felt very of the time. And so I had to keep reminding myself, like, if I read this when I was 16 years old, I probably would have enjoyed it more. I would have been closer to the character's age, and I would have like, it would have been like a newer type of story to me where I wasn't like so aware of everything happening and like able to critique it in the same way. So I kind of just like, there's just something about it that I just wish was like a little bit different. But I really enjoyed it at the end of the day. I had fun. I wish that the characters were just like a little bit easier to connect to, but in the end, I'm giving it a 3.5. I did like it. And I gave so many critiques that it seems like I did not like it. I did like it, I promise. It was a good time. It was fun. It felt a little bit long just because of the pacing, but like, I didn't hate picking it back up. It wasn't like a slog to get through. I wasn't like, oh, this motherfucker. Like, it was just like a good time. So yeah, overall, like, I think that this was God. I think this was a successful video. I had Rules for Vanishing, which was 4 stars, and The Novice, which was 3.5 stars. So I think that's pretty successful. Not like solid wins across the board, but I've also been on a 5-star drought. So that could also just be my problem right now. I'm just not finding the right things right now. But I don't think these were bad books. I really, really, really liked Rules for Vanishing. I can definitely see myself thinking about that story a lot in the future, and like, it's so good. It's so good. I highly, highly recommend Rules for Vanishing. And if you're wanting a little time capsule of a quick little fantasy, I think The Novice is good. I do think I'll continue in the series, but I don't know if it's like a priority for me to get to anytime soon. It's just like in the back of my mind, something that I might pick up. In the end, I had a good time reading these. I think they were pretty successful. I think BookTuber G did great. I think it's Jess. That's my guess. Or Krista. Who knows? But those are my guesses. I had fun. I enjoyed this. This will be a weekly thing for the next 2 weeks. Every Tuesday, you're gonna see these types of videos. So I hope you're excited. I hope that you check out everybody in the description that's also participating. My 3 incredible competitors and our wonderful host, Danny. They're all going to be linked in the description for you to check them out and follow up on their videos, see how we all did. Which do you think I recommended to them? Like, come on, play along. I know there's a poll on Danny's channel. Lots of fun stuff. You can also see the teasers, like the what's coming up videos on Danny's channel on Mondays, I believe. So yeah, a lot of fun. I'm having a blast. I love this little like competition. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see what else my reading has in store. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another video. Let's go. Bye.